All right, so what I'm going to focus on today is I'm going to do, if you guys read the abstract or saw the title, it says demo. I have no slides. We're going to demo. And I personally like doing the demo thing because I'd much rather see the technology and understand what the technology will do for me, and if I'm trying to understand what business problem I'm trying to solve, or in your case, an organizational challenge perhaps. So we're going to focus on a few different technologies that I've spent a lot of time focusing on. We're going to focus a little bit on business process management, business rule management capability. There's some of that in this demonstration. There's a lot about mobile in this demonstration. We'll talk about open source development technology that allows you to build a mobile application quickly and easily. I'll sit down and we'll build a little mobile application kind of on the fly using this development tool you see here. So this is a version of Eclipse that I'm running right now. So you guys may have heard of the Eclipse Ide, right, integrated development environment, a very popular tool amongst software developers, specifically Java developers who often build, your typical back-end systems for your average .com or .gov or mobile app or whatever it might be. So Java is still incredibly popular back on the server side of the equation. It's also fairly popular on building a native Android application also. So Android's native language is Java. And then, of course, in iOS land, you have Objective-C. But what we're going to focus on in this session is something known as Html5. Hopefully you guys have heard the buzz around Html5, it's going to, feed the hungry and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, sure, it might. We're going to show you some Html5 for mobile web application development and the tooling that we have for that. So all of this is free and open source technology, so that's the cool part about it. Eclipse is like one of the most popular IDEs on the planet with millions of users. It's a free and open source technology. I just downloaded this version 2 days ago, and I installed the tools that are also free in this environment, so I can kind of build little things for you guys today. If you are a developer and you do use Eclipse, you might be familiar with the Eclipse Marketplace, and if my network connection is working okay, let's see. It's downloading, all right, not too fast, but it's working. You can just go up there and look at JBoss in the marketplace and then install the tools right from there if you want. So if you want to do this on your own at some point after the session, you could, that's my point. I like doing presentations and demonstrations where you think, oh, I might want to try that, let me try that. So JBoss Developer Studio or JBoss Tools, so that's the packaging you can get for this, and that's all I'm really running now, okay? And if anybody wants to drill down in some of these areas, feel free to let me know, and we can kind of go to the nth degree if we need to. I personally like building these demonstrations and working on them at the best level possible so I can understand how our technology works. I'm specifically in product management. I have all the developer tooling and developer frameworks for middleware. So if a developer cares about it, I care about it. And so while I do touch on things like maybe PHP or Ruby or Node.js and things like that, and I'll go spend time there if I want to, really I'm all about the Java middleware layer and Java developers and what the Java backend folks are trying to build to support a new web infrastructure, a new web front end, or integration infrastructure, or orchestrating multiple services across their enterprise or their organization. So I'm very much focused on those kind of use cases. So what I'm going to show you is an application. This is using our browser simulator, all right? So I'm going to show you this application. So let me put this in context. Maybe I'll show you the business process workflow associated with it. It's a fairly simple little shopping cart, put things in your shopping cart, order something, someone has to review the order, someone has to approve the order, and depending on the price level the person's ordered, it might have to go up to another tier of approval. Fairly simple workflow. We basically have the initial order coming in. There's a risk assessment that evaluates the order and puts kind of a score on it, if you will. Is it a high risk, a low risk? Very simple. It then goes to a review cycle, and that's the first layer review. And if it's a fairly high risk, it goes to yet another tier review. You guys are probably familiar with this concept, right? Almost every organization on the planet has some form of workflow and process that they follow. Maybe it's an expense reporting thing, maybe it's an approval for putting on a major event, maybe whatever, right? We have to get approvals from the higher ups, if you will, the boss and the boss's boss and the boss's boss, depending on what it is. If it all goes through the system carefully and properly, then it gets shipped as an order out of the system. Otherwise, the person gets an email saying, you've been rejected. And of course, they feel badly about themselves for being rejected. Right? We all have that challenge at times, don't we? So it's a very simple workflow. The risk assessment is a simple decision table, very simple here. If the order is below $250, then it's low risk. If it's above $250, it's high risk. Pretty straightforward. Very simple rules. But it does show you some of the capabilities we have out here in all this open source technology that's available to you. So the BLMS, Business Rule Management System, and our new BPMS, Business Process Management System, allows you to easily define a nice drag and drop of a workflow, or set up a decision table like this, which looks like a spreadsheet. And you use web-based tools to build these things. And so that's what's been done here. So let me show you this, what the front end of this application looks like. Okay, this is using our browser simulator, and to make that point, let me bring up another one. So we're going to log in first as a URLs, and I actually have my URLs here, so I'm going to copy and paste those. I got to do this one-handed, so because I got to hold the microphone here, it makes it more entertaining for all of us. How about that? So we're going to set that up, and if we go back here, okay, so there's the initial order person, initial order entry. There's the manager who has to approve it if it's under 250, or even if it's over 250, the initial manager has to approve it, and then the vice president gets to approve it if it's over 250. So just keep in mind, just follow the bouncing ball. So I'm going to log in here as yet another person. Let's call this person Sally Smith, just to make up a name. Hopefully there's no Sally Smith here. If you are, we're going to make you look good here today. If we look at our dashboard here, this is also emulating a tablet environment. Again, it's another mobile environment. And as I register Sally here, you can see Sally pops up on the dashboard immediately. So we're really focused a lot on real-time push scenarios where you're actually interacting with the browser instantaneously. I've been doing a lot of work in that space for the last 2 years. So that concept is important to me. I think it's very important for dashboards. And you're going to hear a lot more from like a presentation I'm doing next week. It's all about real-time web. And how do you make everything instantaneous so that as the user makes a change here, it populates all the other users' experience as instantly as possible. You guys have all seen like a chat or a forum or something like that. We're going to go beyond chats and forums. Those are cute, but how many people really need to build a new chat system? You don't really need to. It's good for demoware. We're going to be building more of these kinds of things where it shows you in a business context, what does it mean to do real-time web? In this case, I just logged Sally in, and let me go ahead and view the catalog here. And we'll do some shopping. So let's get this Samsung Galaxy for $250, $249. So it's under $250. And Sally's going to place the order. Notice the backlog immediately went up here. So it went to $250. So it's in process. It's not through the system yet. Her number is still a 0 because it hasn't been approved yet. And so if we look at the approval screen, we can see that over here on the manager screen, it immediately updates to say, hey, manager, you got something to go approve. And this manager can say, assign to me, because there could be multiple managers in the system, so there could be multiple users sharing the work queue. And they're going to hit approve, and notice immediately, her number goes to 249 here, the backlog goes to 0, and the overall sales total for everybody goes up. So just to watch that one more time, buy another item here. And in this case, I'll dip Samsung Galaxy, and I'll add one more thing to it, so it's over the 250 mark. So let's just add a hoodie here. We'll be like Facebook, we wear hoodies, and we're gonna, we got that there. So you can see the backlog, you know, 285 right there, and then assign to me for the manager, and hit approve. All right, in that case, if you notice, there is no update because it's over 250. So if I go to this screen now, I can see that Sally's order is now here on the vice president's screen. And she is going to look at Sally's order and hit approve, and then you see it pop to the system. So it's a very simple workflow, but it does kind of show you, illustrate the point of what we're talking about. You can declaratively create the workflow model inside the browser over here, and kind of show you that more from scratch. If I look back here at the default package, demo 1, okay, let's just go ahead and running our business process. I can say I want to start event. And so this is all working within Firefox. All right, so it's a simple JavaScript-based application. In this case, I can work it all within the browser, which I think is pretty powerful and pretty nice. You don't have to install any software. You just have to have the right URL. And then, so I want to start event. I can add a XOR there. I can add another task. Maybe I want to come out here and add another one because I have some branching logic. That kind of thing. I can come over here and add another one. And so I can come in and say, I want these tasks, or these nodes that you see here showing up here. Let me scroll my screen over a little bit. And if I come over and click on this guy, I can say this task type here. All right, and can you scroll down a tab? Okay, so a task type can be like I want to receive something or send something. I'm waiting for an email to come in, or I'm sending an email out, let's say. But it can be a user task. A user task simply says we're going to wait till some user picks this task up and does something with it. It's that simple. It's a task queue. And it can be a group of users also. So I can have, let's say, 15 people who are all waiting for something to flow into that global inbox, and they're right away grabbing it off the inbox, like that manager was, saying assign to me. And they're approving it or rejecting it or adding comments to it or whatever they're supposed to do, adding the additional metadata around that task or that business process, and then of course it moves down the chain. And the cool thing about that is it just follows this path, this graphical path you see me drawing out here. We also have the concept of a business rule task, and as we saw earlier in this order process, if I go over here and look at the properties, there's a business rule task here, so you type business rule, and it's running the risk assessment, and that is this decision table here. So basically, as soon as the order flows into the system, it's saying, oh, is it 250, over or under 250? Pretty straightforward. And then based on if it's over or under, then someone else has to approve it or not. So let's play that a little bit. Let's make it 500. Okay, so I'm going to update the business rules here. I'm changing the code, if you will, by updating this little spreadsheet. I'm going to say save and close. Add a comment, since I'm the business analyst making the change. If I could spell, updated, I'm not making a very good comment there. Okay, we'll go back over here and edit, and let's see, all right, build package. And then I'm going to go back over here, and I just want to open that up one more time, make sure I did hit the right change. I'm not used to working with one hand. There we go, so it's 500 and 500, looks good. So let's see what happens when that person comes in and adds something to the system. So we'll go back to Sally again, just to make sure we're okay. So let's pick an iPad here that's $4.99, obviously that's the Wi-Fi version, not the one with 3G, to be that inexpensive. And we'll go back to our dashboard. You can see that there's this rounds up, so $4.99 is in the backlog, it says 500 is in the backlog here. And we can say view orders for the sales manager, and assign to me, and say approve. And you notice it immediately pops to the system. So in that case, now that we've raised the threshold to $500, now the manager can approve up to $500 with no other person being involved. So I can just keep moving those numbers around, or we can drag and drop the lines around, and that's how you change your business process and your business rules. And that's kind of cool if you think about it. So historically, open source has always been about, we're the geek level. You can see how many, you can see I got a lot of windows open over here. Right, we're command line folks, and this is where I normally live out my day. But we've been working incredibly hard on systems and tools like this that are also available in open source that Red Hat provides a subscription for support for as well. So now you can simply just say, I want to look at my business rules in the form of a tabular spreadsheet if they work within that model. We have other ways to declare business rules here also, and I can have a business process that simply follows this workflow. So you, as a developer, would then take this infrastructure that was created here and build a user interface on top of that. So this user interface that you see here is not something that you kind of get out of the box. This is something that a developer says, okay, I want to build a web UI that interacts with that business process and that business workflow and business rules. Make sense? Right? So I want to show you a little about how that element is created. So just to kind of give you an idea for how you build a nice little mobile web application like you see here, we're going to go back to the development tools now. So this is where a developer gets engaged and says, hey, I want to write some code. And we've actually put a lot of things in the tooling lately to try to make it even easier to get started. Now, I won't kid you guys or try to sugarcoat it. This is where a developer gets involved, not the business analyst per se, not the project manager, not the other people in IT. This is really where a programmer is really engaged with the system, and they're trying to think about how to build a custom user interface. So if my network works well, I'm going to click on HTML5 project here. And this is using a Maven archetype. If you're familiar with Maven, then you've heard that expression before. We have all these out-of-the-box archetypes to help you get started building a Maven-based project right out of the gate. So I can say I want a Maven-based project here. I'm going to call it, let's just call it HTML5. And I'm going to make it a little bit easier to read. And I'm going to call it HTML5 Mobile 3. And I'm going to hit next. And hit finish. So because it's Maven archetype, it knows to put in all the infrastructure I need to do an automated build, which is kind of cool. If you're a programmer, you're like, oh, I got a build script, right? You get a build script for free. More importantly, this is team ready. Because it's all Maven based, if you want to actually shoot it out to your CVS or SVN or Git, You can, right? You can just check it right in now, and all the team can collaborate around that particular project. And more importantly, it works with continuous integration solutions. So if you guys have a form of automated build infrastructure inside your organization, this works right away with that infrastructure. It's a Maven-based build. So I'm gonna ignore the README because I've seen the instructions before. And here's my little project right here. And I already have one installed on the server. Let's just go ahead and remove this other one. I was playing with it earlier. And let's add this new one that we just created. All right, I'm going to add it to the server. This is my local server running here locally. And I'm going to say run. It's going to do a deploy. So you can see it deployed around there. And I would like to pop up the browser so we can see what it looks like. So we're going to say run on server. And we're going to use this Keynote demo server here. Finish. And there's what the app looks like. And right now, it's actually showing the mobile version because my screen is kind of small. There we go. So I made it a little bit bigger now, and that's the desktop version. So maybe you guys have heard this term before, responsive design. That's what a lot of people are focused on. So now you do build a code base that basically says, hey, here's your desktop. If you've got a desktop-sized tool, right? Let's say you have a really big tablet or a really big desktop, we'll give the desktop look and feel. If it's kind of constrained, like let's say a phone, we'll show you the phone look and feel of that same application. So we have built in, like you saw down here earlier with all these other little guys, we've built in our own little browser simulator for basically saying, what does that mobile phone look like? So I can come in here now and copy, let me get my mouse in the right spot, boom, and paste this URL in here. Here's what that application looks like from a mobile perspective, and that's what it looks like from a desktop perspective. So if I come here and add myself, and I'm Barrett Red Hat if anybody wants to email me or heckle me. I'm not checking email right now, so not fun for the heckling part. Give a phone number if I got it right there. Good. Notice there's activity on my console. Come down here and refresh. You can see that record pops in. So it is a live application, in this case working off my local server. So it's a standard database-driven kind of web application you see across all our industry. Right? It doesn't really matter what kind of application you're creating. Pretty much everybody these days has a user interface of, typically it's a web-based user interface these days, or a mobile user interface, captures the data from the end user, takes it across the internet or some form of wire or wireless, back to the infrastructure on the data center, into the middleware server, in this case, our application server, shoves it in the database, and lets you know you're good. And then at some point, some other developer some other user comes along and says, hey, I want to see that data out of the database and show it back on the user interface. That's what developers do 99% of the time. We get it off the screen, put it in the database. Get it out of the database, put it back on the screen. And then if we're not doing that, we're writing a report, right? That's pretty much how we work. So I'm concentrating on those kinds of use cases. So building a little simple application like that, we give you this default one for free to kind of give you an infrastructure here to work with them. You can see, if I look over here, source, web, if you're familiar with the Maven structure, it's a standard Maven structure for that application. And if I'm going to add a new page to this screen, let's add a new page to this application. Let's call this let's just call it demo. And hit finish. Now I'm going to add a brand new page. So if you notice what happened over here, my palette has changed. So I'm going to build a new HTML5 based client application. If I can get this mouse to work. Whoop. Come on. There. Make it a little bit bigger so you can see it there. So on the right side of my screen is a jQuery mobile palette. So what that means is I can start using these jQuery mobile components right away within my mobile web application. So if I want to build something as simple as, let's say, adding a new page, and let's just call this the context. Typing one hand is quite challenging, all right? We'll just leave that for now. And I get a little preview of what that page will look like. I can add a back button. You can see the back button on, back button off. I can add the references to JavaScript and CSS here. But this is standard jQuery mobile, all right? And that's going to give me my initial page template. And this is standard HTML5. So if you look at the top here, it's just HTML5. That's actually the designator for HTML5. It's that simple. Right? HTML5 is there to simplify everything and also make this thing ready for other browser types. And this might not be that important to you depending on where you come from. I suspect some of you guys work in organizations where IE is still the predominant browser, Internet Explorer. But what we're finding throughout the industry is that Windows no longer owns the personal computing space. It did for a number of years, right? I have a chart actually. I don't have any presentation slides, but Mary Meeker gives this presentation about the state of the union around the internet, and actually shows, yes, 10 years ago, Windows and Intel owned everything. And in this day and age, in 2013, 2012, right, it's a three-way horse race. Now, if you look at the number of computing devices sold in the world at large, Windows is not winning this war anymore. iOS and Android are taking a huge chunk of market share in the personal computing space. So it's a three-way horse race. And furthermore, it's no longer IE dominating the desktop browser anymore. A lot of the organizations probably have Firefox as a supported standard also. And if it isn't Firefox, Chrome has eaten 20% of the IE market in the last couple of years alone. So Chrome and Firefox and IE are now all in the corporate data, if you will, the corporate environment, the organizational environment. And what's interesting about that, it means Microsoft has to get better, right? So IE now is a pretty cool browser if you get to IE9, IE10, IE11. It's not bad. IE6, right? 7, 8, they really sucked. But they have no competition. So let me come in here and any people from Microsoft in here? Probably not. It's open source conference. All right, so we're gonna add some things here to this application. So this is where my content goes. I'm not going to add any content there. Let's add a couple pages though. Let's add a couple more pages for fun. We're going to do another page here, and we're going to add yet another page. So this is going to be a 3-page application. You notice I got page 2 now, page 3, and I'm going to also add a menu to the system. Okay, so I'm going to add a menu here, and so we're going to. It's called a panel. So this is a Facebook-style menu, and we're going to add a panel right there. And the panel is going to have 3 menu items in it. That's a list view. And I'm just going to take the default items that are there. Okay? And I need to add a button that makes the panel appear. So I'm going to come down here and add a button. And so the only reason this is kind of tricky, you just got to remember what the name of that panel is. And it's panel 1 by default. I guess type it correctly. And I'm going to give this this button to it an icon, like the bar. So right there, bars. And I'm like icon only. Whoop. You got to click on the right button. Icon only. And finish. Okay. So we'll save that. And let's come over here. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll go to HTML. Oh, helps if I type correctly. There we go. So there's our menu. And there's our first screen. So it's as simple as that to start laying out your application. In this case, it's a 3-page application, and I have a sort of simple menu that collapses and unfolds there. We'll keep adding to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys one other thing. If you notice, we have a live reload server. All right, it's currently stopped. I'm going to go ahead and get it started. And on my browser simulator over here, I'm going to say enable live reload. And this is it does drain to this much desktop real estate right now, but I typically work, as most developers do these days, right, with 2 monitors, and you have like a football field's worth of desktop real estate. And you can actually set up this browser simulator, and I'll just show you another example, where I can actually say, okay, maybe I want an iPad mini also, and I want to turn it on its left. So I want to see the horizontal representation of what the screen looks like. So I'm going to have all of this running across all my different desktop windows, and as I make a change to my code, I can see it across all these different browser types. I can go, oh, Android over here, Android phone, Android tablet, iPad, iPad mini, and they all have different form factors, so I want to be able to see what it looks like across all of them. The nice thing about using jQuery Mobile is it kind of takes care of that for me automatically, but here I can see now, okay, this is what it looks like over here in the tablet land. Still looks good. Looks good over here. Kind of happy with that design. If I come back in Codebase now, let me actually make a point about this. I use this tool a lot for other things. Let's say, let's just go to OpenShift.com. So OpenShift, of course, is our platform as a service environment. If we're in a second, we'll try to know that if we have a few moments to hit that. But let's go to OpenShift. OpenShift.com is available to you guys. You can sign up today. And you can also use it as a way to say, well, what should a responsive website look like? So in this case, you can see here on the phone, it kind of stacks things vertically. Looks nice over here because it has the wider screen on a tablet. It puts them horizontally. So there's a number of sites that do that fairly well. CNN is one. Sometimes Amazon works pretty well. Walmart.com. Let me see. Allianz is another one I like looking at. Insurance company. And you can kind of look at what that application looks like in that setting. All right, so there it goes. My network performance is not great. So there's the tablet version of Violins as an example. And let's see what the phone version of that looks like. So you can have a lot of, so the phone again, it stacks it nicely versus taking advantage of the full width. So this is what people are doing now in designing their standard HTML5 style applications. It's just HTML and CSS. It's not really that magical. And all this can just be the front end to your application now in a typical web user interface. But let's see, we go back over here. Let's see if we can go back up to our little application we were looking at earlier. There we go, back to that again. All right, so let's add a little bit more functionality to it, make it a little more interesting. I'm going to add an about dialog. Okay, so let's go over here and add a dialog to this. We'll just leave it, I'll just make this about. Okay, the about title, you can see what it looks like. Hit finish. This is a really cool app. Again, got to type in one hand. And did I get that right? Close enough. There we go. Hit save. Okay, it refreshed, if you notice, automatically for me. That's what the IDLib does, but there's actually not a button yet to display the about dialog, so let's add a button. And we're going to say, I'm going to put in dialog. Again, I got to spell it correctly. I'm so used to having two hands to type with, I'm missing letters along the way. Open dialog. And I'm going to give it an icon again. Let's give an icon of info. There's info right down there. Icon only. And hit finish. And let's see what it looks like over here. And hit, we'll make sure we save it. So it updates correctly. There's our about dialog. Okay. And if I want to get even crazier with it, so we got a menu, we got our about dialog. I can come in here now and let's say I want to come into page 2. That web page content goes here. And now I'm going to add some form fields to it. So now we can make it more of a business application. So let's say I want to capture the person's name. I can say name, it'll be a type text. This is actually a standard HTML5 attribute. And the good news about this HTML5, it works across all mobile browsers. So some people with HTML5 yet, we're living in the old world. Well, do you have to support mobile for your user base? Do all the executives in your organization now have iPhones or yes, they all have HTML5. So even if your desktops today are still stuck on IE6, because that's just the nature of where you're at, and there's still a lot of organizations that are stuck in that mode, everybody with an Android phone or iPhone is ready to go. All right, so you just got to keep that in mind. So maybe I want a name field here, and maybe I want a, let's also get an email field. I'm just typing quickly, and boom, boom, I'm going to take type email there. So these additional form types are new for HTML5. So you didn't have this before. All we had was type text and type button before. Now we got, let's take a type tag, which is a phone number. All right. So we're going to grab the user's phone number, and we're going to, let's say, get their birth date. So if I did all this right, didn't mess anything up, then we'll see what happens here. We're living dangerously, coding on the fly 100. Hit save there. I need to add it. It's on page 2. So let's hook in page 2 properly. So we've got to put in pound, page 2. Looks right. Okay. I think I got that right. We'll find out. Let's see. Item 2, page 2, there it is. All right, so there's our form fields. And that might not be that exciting just looking at it right here and now. Let's actually bring up the real iOS simulator. So this is a great tool, by the way, for people who develop on Windows or develop on Linux. But at some point, if you really want to make sure your stuff looks great for that iPhone, you need to have a Mac. That's why I'm using a Mac. In this case, I'm running the native Apple-provided simulator that they provide. I also can just run it right on my phone as well, so I'll do that at times. But for now, let's just do this HTML5, 5-mobile, and what do I call that project? 3, okay. Got to get it right. There we go. Got to spell it right. And 3. Still didn't spell it right. There we go. All right, so there's the main application we looked at earlier. Now let's get to my page, which was demo.html. Yeah. Okay, so there it is. There's the second page, and the reason I want to show it to you in iOS Simulator is to show you the specialized keyboard capability. So one of the things you want to be able to do when you're designing a new mobile web kind of station, the reason you take advantage of these fields is watch what happens with the keyboard. If I go to email, I get an email-specific keyboard. right? If I get a phone, I get a phone-specific keyboard. If I get a birth date, I get a date-specific keyboard. That's an awesome capability. And then whenever I go to a website now on my phone and my tablet and they don't give me the right keyboards, I get really upset. It's like, come on, guys, it's not hard. You saw what I did here. Because think about having to type in a date with the regular old keyboard, right? Or even a phone number with the regular old keyboard. So this concept I just want to show you, and that's the value of HTML5. You get mobile web capability right here in the tools, design it, deploy it. It's running live on my local server. So to show you one other aspect of this, all right, so I built this app. That might be my app. I just kind of cranked it out real fast and talked real fast. But now I want to deploy it up to the cloud. So I'm going to click on the OpenShift link here, and I'm going to lead by password alone. I should be the right password. And I'm going to say I want to build a new application. So let's call this Mobile 5. I'm just making up the name. And I can say it's a type JBoss Enterprise Application Platform. So this is platform as a service. This means I don't care about the infrastructure. I don't care about the operating system or any underlying technology. I don't want to provision anything. I don't call anybody to say, hey, can you set up a bunch of servers for me? It's all free. It's all available to you in the cloud. And of course, you can take all this on-premise and run it within your firewall as well. In this case, I'm using the public version of it. I can say I want Mongo, I want MySQL, Postgres, I want some web balancing capability. There's a lot of different modules and cartridges you can add to it. I'm going to take the standard stuff. I'm going to hit next here. I'm going to say use an existing project. This is the HTML5 Mobile 3. I guess I should have said 3, right? But it doesn't matter because one's my local project. There's the project up in the sky. And let's hit next here. And this takes a few seconds to actually process. So I won't bore you with the details of watching it go, but it's actually going to go through the process of saying, hey, Cloud, stand up all the servers for me. Basically make sure that I have the JBoss environment configured, the JVM environment, the RHEL, the Red Hat Linux is all there. And it's going to set up a domain name and actually stand up a web server for me. That's what this process is going through, and it's going to suck the code off my hard drive and shoot it up. To make that point a little bit more, let's just go, I've already done one earlier, so let's just go look at it real quick. HTML5 dash, let me put this down for a second. So maybe I'll have to talk at it so people can hear me on the recording. Let's see here. Did I get that right? So here's that application we were working with earlier as an example. And then if I want to run it on my phone, it's the same thing. So the nice thing about running things on the phone is you can test things in real time. Here, so I'll just show you what my webcam sees here. So here's my phone sitting right here. Okay, so the same application running at mobile HTML5 or hcloud.com. So I can immediately deploy up to the cloud, see it on real mobile devices, and if you guys want to start typing in the URL, you can pull out your phone and go for it. Okay, it's about that hard. We've got a couple of minutes left, so let me show you one other thing. I want to show you one other little, let's see how crazy this gets. This may or may not work. So now you've seen a bunch of things that actually work, right? So here I am just going crazy. That's normally not how demos work, right? Normally something breaks along the way. Let me show you. Let's show you some stuff that's really out there. Yeah, let's see. Will he connect for me? I know. Sometimes I get this error message. I got to work on this. This is some stuff I hacked up not too long ago, just because I want to talk about the future. So it's not connecting. I know what I need to do. What we're going to do is we're going to connect it through the phone's Wi-Fi capability. Press my hotspot, turn that on. All right, there it is. Let me connect to my own iPhone. You guys don't connect to my iPhone. So we're going to push a lot of through this phone right now. So will it connect? Still gives me that red arrow, but it says connected. Okay. And paint. Let's see if this actually works. If this works, I'll be excited because this is really somebody was really hacking on it not too long ago. So let's see here. Now we're going to make it where you can see it. All right, so this is the camera for there's my phone. There's the dashboard I created. Let's see if this actually works properly. Nope, got to refresh. Okay. Oh, come on. Well, it doesn't want to work. So what this is, this is HTML5 Canvas. So HTML5 Canvas is another HTML5 capability you have out there. Basically, you can use it for drawing anything. In this case, I'm using it for touch-sensitive drawing. And what I have it doing, though, is actually working off this cloud server. Let's see if this is my problem here. Well, there we go. So let me refresh the screen so you can kind of see it better now. So literally, as I make drawings, you see them, so it's going from my phone as I draw, out to the internet, out to Red Hat OpenShift, back out to this desktop browser. So it's doing all of that in real time. So this is a concept I'm working on next, right? Concepts of real-time push. It's kind of a silly little exercise, but maybe you'll find it interesting, and it's just a kind of a hack job on my part. But you can kind of see I'll do some different drawings there. Okay, you can kind of see it's just kind of, as it's showing up there and showing up on the desktop. If I refresh, it actually sets up another panel for me. And if you wanted to, you guys could all break out your phone, you could try the same thing. All right, so there we go. So as I complete each stroke, so this is a great way to play team tic-tac-toe with your audience. Right? But I just want to show that to kind of show you where the future is going for this kind of technology. So again, this is just mobile web on the phone now, doing something pretty advanced, if you think about it, and reflecting its changes up through the internet, up to the cloud, back out to this desktop. And you can see what my messages are all flowing right here. This is just debugging code. I was like, did the message come through? And it's basically sending the whole canvas over the wire. Okay? So let me see. Oh, look at that. As I was talking, I said, hey, we're finished with this. You want to finish up? So I just said OK there. So it's just going to push that application up to the public web. Okay? It should be noted that if you guys are interacting with your on-premise paths, right, OpenShift in your data center, these tools work the same way. So right now, if you notice that when I clicked OpenShift application, it specifically said, oh, you want to use the OpenShift.redhat.com, which is what I selected. But you can build a new connection that says, now I want to use my whatever.gov and connect to my own OpenShift and deploy my own application so that everybody with a mobile device can look at my application now within the context of our enterprise, our organization, whatever nonprofit you might run or whatever government agency you might work for. Okay? So we've been working really hard on these tools. Again, free open source tools. You download Eclipse free. You go to Eclipse Marketplace, get JBoss tools. You have these tools available to you. You can start designing new HTML5 mobile applications. Right, they're out of the gate. Simple web user interfaces like you saw there. We have that cool little palette over here, which is jQuery Mobile. And I didn't delve into it, but you can see there's the jQuery lines just dropped right in for me. That's all it is. It's just JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. And then if you want to hook it into a backend, let's say we do want to hook it into a backend. We've got a couple moments left, so let's get a little crazier. Yeah, let's try something. Things are working, so now I'm getting braver. I'm going to actually copy and paste this JavaScript command in. So your front end, the HTML5 application is often written in JavaScript. So we drop in some JavaScript. It's a very simple JavaScript using jQuery. It basically says go to the server, grab this list of members from a REST endpoint. If I look over here, here's the REST endpoint right there. Okay. You can see there's Bill and John Smith in there. I'm actually going to come back here and paste in that URL. So just so you guys can see where that comes from. So this means the client application can talk to that specific REST endpoint, and it's looking for this thing called contacts. So let me add contacts to the system. It's still publishing to OpenShift back in the background there. My network has gotten slow enough now that that git push is running in the background. Okay, stop it. Will it let me finish? I don't know. Let's see. And let me go back to page 3. All right, add the list view. We're going to call it contacts. And if all that goes well, I need to add the link to page 3 in. Now it's getting too slow because that thing running in the background. But the basic idea there is it's just simply going to go out and hit that REST endpoint, draw the data from it, and pull it into the user interface. That's all that's doing. Right? So if you want to look, that's an example of how you hook the front end into the back end. It's really that hard. You have REST endpoints on the server side. That's a standard Java feature you find in any kind of application platform these days, whether it be Ruby-based or Java-based or whatever. In our case, we call it JAX-RS for the Java land. And it looks like it finished. Let me add this in real quick. Let's see if this works. Page -3. Yep. And then there's our little browser. Let me put this down for a second, type this in real fast. localhost. Here, it's usually just to copy and paste. Okay. Demo.html. Page 3. There we go. So Burn John Smith. So again, the data dynamically populating into the mobile user interface. Well, that is about all I have time for. I'll be available, for a while longer if you guys want to ask questions of me. I'm happy to talk to you about anything. Just try to remember, right? Tooling, free, open source, available for you to go start building web user interfaces today for the mobile application. And by the way, I didn't show you how to wrap this with a Cordova-based application, so you can actually use like the accelerometer, get the contacts off the phone. Anything the phone can do is available to you also, right? So GPS, coordinates, things of that nature, that's all cool. What's that? Yeah, all the HTML5. Just JavaScript and HTML. So it works very well. I have other demos that focus on that. I'll be doing those next week. Okay? And then don't forget about the business rule management system, business process management system. You just simply drag and drop your pictures, and that's your code. That's your business logic for your backend application. All right, so thank you guys very much for your time. Lunch will be served next.